We're in southern Sydney, and it's a warehouse. It's about 625 square metres on each floor. It was a warehouse built probably in the 1920s, I think. It's had various lives within its life, and now it's been converted into a residence for a young Sydney business person who's pretty brave and successful. And what we've created here is something quite unique and unusual. It's a pod, a sleeping pod, that came from connections through work on yachts and marinas and some other work that we've done in Sydney, sort of coming out of industrial design. This project was really just blue sky, no horizon, what's possible. We were asked, or I was asked, to just look at the possibilities within this space, and what initially had been looked at was a fairly conventional arrangement of rooms and bathrooms and sitting spaces and living spaces. But this is such a scale at 620, 630 square metres per floor. So the idea came about to have something that makes space within the space, to create other points of interest, to subdivide or give a sense of intrigue to what is otherwise just one big space that you could see in an instant. You could stand at one point and observe the whole of the space, where by placing a new piece of sculpture into this, it creates an intrigue. There are spaces, other spaces behind, and it kind of creates a subdivision of rooms, if you like. So it's, as I said, it's a sleeping pod. It's insulated, it'll be soundproof. It takes its starting point from things like an alto vase, the troglodyte villages in Gorome in Turkey. It's an internalized. A cave is something that's it's a negative space. It only has an internal dimension, whereas what we've created here is the expression of the cave on the outside as well. So it's a kind of it's like a cave's doppelganger. It's the echo of the inside of the cave on the out, and that forms this quite intriguing new object in the space. We had to fit it in around and through the existing structure. It was fabricated in Queensland by a company called Moldcam, who do a lot of yacht work and special three-dimensional shapes. They used a 5-axis cutting machine to create a series of molds, and then injection of foam, and then overlaying of glass fibre to actually create a structure that's insulation as well as structure to span and be an integral kind of unit. It was then sliced up into sections, loaded onto the back of a truck and shipped from Queensland down to Sydney, and now it's being reassembled in this space. Quite a complex little project, completely intriguing. I don't think anyone really knew what it was going to be like until we got to the point of walking around it. We created it from some initial sketches, some of my early sketches, then working that into a program Rhino, and then delivering a complete computer model to the cutting machines in Queensland that then formed this thing. When we started looking at this shape and this organic kind of piece of sculpture, the obvious question is, so how do we build it? What do we make it out of? And it came back to research. Yacht makers and boat builders are probably on the forefront of technology in terms of three-dimensional surfaces. It's like you have to build it like a yacht. They understand the complexity of different surfaces, convex, concave, very, very complex surfaces. So we went to yachting technology, and so the materials in terms of foam and fiberglass come straight out of yachting technology. It's the bedroom space is about 7 metres by 7 metres, so it's a generous bedroom. It has an ensuite adjacent to that, and the ensuite has a flue or a chimney that goes up through the existing roof to a skylight. That skylight will have an electric window in it that you can switch on and off to have daylight or no daylight. There's within the bedroom there's a media console that'll have a very large television. There'll be music. The floor is elevated off the old industrial floor and is clad in leather. It's pretty out there. It's very out there. The feeling of it will be, as someone just said, something womb-like. It'll be. It's an internal space. It'll be sealed. It doesn't have windows as such, and that's a deliberate request to the client. It's something that's a blackout space. It's a complete kind of isolation space for deep sleep and complete relaxation.